All right, everybody, I'm so excited to be here. You know I am. I have a very special guest, Mr. Stephen Wollett. Let me tell you a little bit about it. He began it all as a hobby in 2006. He went all in 2020, lost his wife. His coping mechanism was the movie Jack Be Nimble. He holds degrees in criminal justice and comprehensive religion. He created 11 video games, 3 tabletop supplements, won 46 awards and 20 nominations. I just don't know what else to say. I'm just going to let Steve come on in and tell us a little bit about this terrific story that he is experiencing in life. Hello, Stephen. Thank you.
Hello. How are you today?
I am well. Can you tell us just a little bit about who you were before all of this even took place? Like the background. Where did you grow up?
I was a military brat, so I lived all over the country, but the majority of my life was as a youth. I was a troublemaker. I was always in trouble with everybody, fighting all the time. And it was around 1996 I met my wife, and she helped my life and put that criminal mentality behind me.
Okay. So she brought out that tender part of you.
Yes, I definitely.
Now, I think Jack Be Nimble is a horror movie, right?
It's a horror comedy.
Okay, so it has that hard but soft, subtle touch to it.
Yes, yeah. It's not real bloody or anything like language in it, though.
Okay, tell us about the 12. You are the author of 12 books and counting.
Yes.
What was the first book?
I started out writing books about cocktail recipes. I was drinking a lot at that point in my life, and I started writing the recipes down for the things that I was creating. Blasphemous Cocktails, which is cocktail recipes based on horror stories. I started to get into writing books about fiction or novels, teen novels mostly, following young people that are dealing with supernatural stuff.
Like Marvel.
Yeah, there's some horror elements in everything I do. I like horror. I've always found it joy in watching. I wrote a couple lampoons. I lampooned Hillary Clinton. I lampooned Donald Trump. Books, they're like the ABCs of Hillary Clinton, and the Donald Trump was like a docking fun of the two of them during their campaign. Later, I God's Assassin, which is how would I describe it? Who kills people for the church, and he's a really follows his transformation as he realizes he doesn't have to be this weapon, a true servant. You know, I wrote a book on herbalism. I wrote a self-help book called Steve Wollett's Manual of Manliness, which is that don't have a father.
Okay. Now, all of these great epiphanies, how do you think they came to you? They just was like, well, I should go on and start just putting this in a book.
The first book I wrote as part of a bet. I was drinking a gaming event in Indianapolis, And you know, when you're trying to make bold claims that might not be true, and I told everybody there that published in 6 months, and they all told me there was no way possible. 5 months later, once I realized I could do it, I just started doing more and putting the ad. I just never.
Uh-oh. Well, you guys. Okay. All right. There we go. So,
Anyway,
so have you published all of your books?
say that again.
Did you self-publish? Did you self-publish your books?
I self-published my first books. My most recent one was published through a publishing house.
Okay. Now, which route was the? Can you?
For
I
self-publishing,
self-published my first book. Mm-hmm.
I was
You know.
I used a company called the Book Patch for my first book. And
Mhm.
almost all the rest of them were done through Amazon using their KDP program.
Okay, that's exactly how I did mine because I wanted to prove to myself I could do it.
Yeah,
You know,
it's a good thing.
I did not want to think somebody else had to do it for me. I'm gonna do this for myself so I can, say I accomplished this. I put it together. I even designed the cover.
Absolutely. That's the way I've been with almost all of my books. I've done all the work myself. I did all the editing. I would have my friends read different parts of it and tell me if they saw anything wrong, you know. And my
Hmm.
early have a lot of errors in them because of that. It's my most recent book went through a full editing process and doesn't have nearly the number of mistakes.
Wow. And you know what? I think the mistakes sometimes make it more authentic.
I
Just
could
especially like the first couple of books, like I don't have to be just super perfect. I don't have to be raggedy at the same time. I'm just not gonna put anything out there. But I'm saying if I saw a mistake, I wouldn't beat myself up because I would look at the overall goal that I accomplished getting the book out there. And then I can go back in and edit what may be wrong. If there is an error somewhere, then I can go back in and
no,
change that. But to
absolutely.
kind of be easy on yourself. You're doing something you've never done before, and a lot of times we beat ourselves up unnecessarily.
Most definitely. We are our worst critics. We will always judge our work far more harshly than anyone else.
And I will say this: I think criticism makes what you do better too. Like if you
It
take
does.
criticism, you'll be like, okay, well, that just teaches me that I need to work harder on this part right here. Instead of taking it in such a negative way, like, oh my God, like something is happening. No, something is truly happening because this person is pulling out more potential, the potential that you truly have.
Yes. With criticism, it has to be constructive, not hateful criticism.
That I do trust me, I do understand because we could do that too. We try to tear each other down. So not all
Yeah.
of us, some of us, we don't see the light at the end of the tunnel or the rainbow coming through the cloud. Like, okay, this is not going to end. Nothing is
Right.
going to end because of this mistake. Everything can start from this point on, really truly start. If we release that and walk on into what could possibly be compared to dragging each other through the mud, trying to make everybody change. I don't have to make you change. And, I don't have to do any of that. I can allow you to be you. You allow me to be me. And we find a comfortable place in the middle, you
Yep.
know?
I agree. Yeah, I remember something Denzel Washington said in an interview many years ago was that he doesn't read critical reviews of his work because it either elevates his ego or it destroys it. And he'd rather keep his ego in one place.
Okay, sitting down somewhere. Sometimes my egos get all in the way. Get all in the way. I don't know why.
Absolutely.
It's a good thing to have the ego. It is a good thing to have an ego. But an ego that's out of control will take you into the depths of things you don't ever want to see.
Most definitely.
It will rip your life apart. A ego can rip your life apart. Let's talk about how did you get this criminal justice degree?
Um, I some years ago I decided I wanted to clean up a problem that was happening in my county, and nobody was running against the sheriff. So I decided to start going to school, learning criminal justice. I did it all through correspondence, and I got my degree, and I ran against the sheriff, and I actually beat him in 95% of the districts, but lost the election.
What? Okay,
Yep.
that's what I'm talking about, a pure heart, baby. You going out there for the people for real, huh?
Yeah. Well, I believe I'm a true believer in liberty, true liberty, and I always have been. And the biggest part about true liberty is there can be no victimless crime. If you're putting people away for just living their lives, just because they're living them in a different way than you, that's
Mhm,
wrong. And I'm
mhm.
looking at all these young men that are sitting in jail for smoking marijuana or whatever, and it bothered me. And I was looking at the sheriff in our town. This man named Carlieber was taking families' homes away if their children sold drugs. Okay, so think about it. If your child was selling marijuana,
He
they
was
would come
making
and
you
see
responsible.
you as part of criminal enterprise.
But that's their own independent choice. You may not
I
agree with it. Yeah,
right,
I may not agree with what you're doing, just don't do it at my house. But don't hold
right.
me accountable for your mistakes either.
So I went and I fought the hard fight against the sheriff. And while I lost the election, I was able to bring enough attention to the problem that the news was finally reporting on it, and the sheriff changed all the policies.
Wow, so change comes in many ways. Just
Yes.
bringing
Uh,
awareness.
the other interesting thing that happened was the following election. I wasn't running, and the county voted me as auditor through write-in votes.
Wow.
Now I was the auditor for 8 years.
Okay. That's what I'm talking about, making those small, well, look, it seems small, but very large steps in life to, to
Yes.
bring, yeah, very,
Well,
very interesting.
all change begins in the home. You start locally and you work out from there. So many people get caught up on the big things happening in the world and try and make big changes. No, change your local community, change your neighborhood, change your household. You change your household and then your neighborhood, the next thing you know, you changed your city.
And you know what? I believe the change must first start in you. You got to change your mind so that you can see a change on the outside of you anyway. You understand? Like if
Absolutely.
you've got to see, okay, this is not working for me, but if I tried this right here and I stepped outside of my comfortable place and did something, dared myself to do something that seemingly undoable, by
Right.
just changing my mind and then changing the way I walk and the way that I appear in life, because sometimes we don't have that full confidence in the change that's taking place within us so
Right.
that it can kind of show up outside of us, how we appear in life and how we interact with other people. Sometimes we see ourselves on the lower end of the spectrum. They're looking at us this way and we're looking at ourselves this way, not seeing ourselves as I guess you could say capable of doing it. Why me? Why, how can a small person like me make this huge change? But all it takes is one person full of, I guess, courage, and not necessarily within yourself, but it has to be courage in what you're fighting for is right and good. You know what I'm saying? It's for a multitude of people. It's not
Hmm.
just for a small, minute group of people. And we have a tendency to always kind of separate ourselves when it's human being to human being, life to life, and that's all that I see. We all breathe the same air, so why not be kumbaya while we're here? We're
Right.
kumbaya doing everything else, and to be at a mental state where we can continuously kumbaya with one another and just be at
Yes.
ease. Because it's not about color, it's not about what neighborhood you live in, it's not about what your bank statements say and what you drive and how you live. It's
Mhm.
about who you are that truly
Right.
matters.
Well, at heart, I think most people want to be good, but most people are generally selfish. And I believe they always say money is the root of all evil. I don't believe that. I believe that selfishness is the root of all evil. When you see your neighbor needs help, go help them. When you see a person in the store needs help, go help them. If you are
Mhm.
physically capable of it, you get out there and you help the people that you see need the help around you. If you're not able to do it, that's fine. But if you are, why aren't you? I always ask that question. When I was younger, I was a selfish person. I would do everything for myself. As I got older, I learned that serving the community, serving the people that you live with, it gives more satisfaction than taken from them.
It's right because it's fulfilling. You know,
Yes.
it's truly a fulfilling state to know that just that little bit, like if I help three people today, what are those three people? Who are those three people going to help by just having an experience with me today?
Yes.
And just letting that light continuously shine. And I'm not saying you have to put, just go out and, oh, I'm set out to change three lives today, and I'm going to say something marvelous to somebody. No, but I will say that the Creator will give you great experience to just see how you're going to interact with another person.
I'll give you an example. Like when my wife died, I was sitting home alone, and people from other counties that I had met when I ran for sheriff many years ago showed up at my house, and they brought me food. They came and mowed my lawn. They cleaned my house for me. They for the most part, these were people that I only knew like very tangibly. I met them
Mhm.
once or twice here or there, but they came and helped me out because they saw that I was in need of help at that moment. And even though the help they offered was small, to me, it was immense.
Mhm.
I mean, it moved me so much. And I think that if we look at the area where we live, if we look at our neighbors, most of us don't even want to talk to our neighbors. But if we look around at our neighbors and we make the effort to just be friendly, just offer a helping hand from time to time, but not be intrusive.
Mhm.
That's the hard part. Not be intrusive and not be judgmental of whatever it is they're going through or they're doing. It can really have a transcendental effect on the community as a whole.
Yeah, I agree with that because I'm a firm believer. I don't have to, come into your house and experience what's going on, but I do know that if I see you, I can treat you like a human being, you know.
Ab-
I can treat your
Yes.
children like they're my children. I can treat, I have that in me to, I can do this because this is a part of who I am because I'm in this neighborhood. If it happens to you, guess what? It just happened to everybody in the neighborhood.
Right.
So to be that open minded and leave that space where it's not all about me, it's really about us.
No, I think that you're 100% right there.
It's about us. Let's see, 46 awards.
Okay. I
46.
have actually lost track. I know IMDb I think has me listed at 40 some, and I've probably won a little more than double that over the years. Um it I'm not sure how many movies that is, but it's probably like 15 movies and they're spread through them.
Whoa, I can imagine. Do you have like a room with all of these awards in them in one room?
I'm not the kind of person that really keeps trophies. More often than not, when I get them, I give them away to someone.
Okay. I'm like, ooh, I would love to see this room because I know it is
Yeah.
just packed.
I What do I have? I have four trophies sitting on a table over here to my right that I'm probably going to give away to people that worked on those films because I really I I know my worth. I don't need a trophy for an accolade.
Amen. And then you didn't do it all by yourself, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mhm.
Most of these projects have been collaboratory And if it wasn't for the collaboration for other very talented people working with me, then what I've put together would not be successful.
Mm. Now, let me ask you this. How did you begin making movies?
So I've been 2006. I started dabbling with small local productions that were happening. They would need help. I'd go volunteer time. A lot of my early films that I worked with, I worked for free because I was just learning the industry. What I guess it was 2017, 2018, I decided to make a documentary about gaming, tabletop gaming, not video gaming,
Hmm.
because one of my passions. I love playing games. And I went and interviewed dozens of people that were involved in the creations of games like Dungeons and Dragons and Call of Cthulhu and games like that. And we put together this documentary that went on to win a bunch of awards in different countries. And I realized when I did that, that this really is not as hard as I thought it would be. I want to try something more.
Hmm.
So when my wife died in February 10th, 2020. Our business burned down on February 2nd, 2020.
Hmm.
Okay, so in just under 2 weeks, I lost my wife and my business. And I was just devastated. And I really didn't know what to do. And I'm sitting at home, and friends were coming and going, checking in on me. But for the most part, I was just sitting there staring at a wall.
Hmm.
And I was drinking a lot, smoking marijuana, trying to quell the pain. And I was like, enough. I put the alcohol aside, I put the marijuana aside, and I started writing about my friends, the friends that I've been playing games with for all these years. I wrote a fantasy story of what I imagine each of us is going to look like when we're in our 70s and living in a nursing home together.
Oh, wow.
And
Not a
that's what the
nursing
movie.
home at 70 now. That's too early.
Well, it's I didn't want to go with older because I wasn't sure I'd be able to find older actors that would be able to do the physical stuff I wanted. So I
Okay.
chose an age range that I thought I could get actors that were around 60 years old that
Hmm.
could
And
be.
still be mobile. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And it was pretty cool. I wrote the story in March. I finished it in April. By June, I had a budget worked out and had started negotiating contracts. By September, we were filming.
Wow. And
Yeah.
that was the beginning of that.
Yes. And I was able to bring in I don't know if you know who he is, but Vernon Wells. Most of the people watching this probably remember movies from the 80s, like the Commando with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Vernon
Hmm.
Wells was the villain. Okay.
Ah, okay.
Or The Road Warrior with Mel Gibson. Vernon Wells was the villain, the guy with the big mohawk chasing Mel Gibson all through the desert. So
Oh,
he's an older actor now, and I reached out to him. I had met him on a couple other productions, and he agreed to be part of it as my main character.
hmm.
And when I wrote the story, I wrote the villain based on a woman that I loved in movies, Bai Ling. Well,
Hmm.
in July, after having it written, I'm in New York City. I get in an elevator, and guess who gets in with me? Bai Ling. And
Get
we start
out.
talking, and I convinced her to join the film.
Uh-huh.
And that's how I pulled her in. And then your friend Brent Gaskins, he plays the character Carl, who was based on my best friend who died of COVID right in the middle of July of that year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So this is look, I get, they say, now I don't know. They say everything we write comes to becomes our reality. Do you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
Like
I
if
believe
we,
when you write a story or even just tell a story,
Mhm.
you're putting energy out into the universe that helps to manifest that story. So telling good stories that have lessons is important. You want to tell stories that either elevate you or that elevate the world around you. And even if the story has bad things happening in it, as long as it's leading to something good, I believe that it's a good way to go. And the what Jack B. Nimble does is, it's these people are at the end of their lives, and they're dealing with all the troubles of age, when they turn out that there might be a demon living among them in their facility. And it
Mhm.
is faith. Faith is the key in this story. It really is. And I believe it's a great lesson, even with the horror elements of it. I believe the end of the story is a great lesson for anybody.
Okay. So the how it ends, and I think that's how life is for us. It's not what happens to us during life, it's what we do with what happens to us. Can you turn that into, like your win-win situation? Yeah, all of this is happening, but what is truly happening? Something is
Right.
happening for me in those
Hmm.
moments.
Yeah, I mean, if I look at my own life, as I said, when I was younger, I was a hellraiser. And I realized that the reason I was a hellraiser was the majority of the people I hung around with were troublemakers.
Hmm.
When I joined the Army, I discovered that I had the sergeant, Drill Sergeant Briggs, and he told us, look at the man to your right, then look at the man to your left. If they are not better than you, put someone better than you on your left and right. You want the people beside you to always be better than you, because
Hmm.
you will rise to be as good as them.
Now, my girlfriend taught me that lesson. She was like, you have got to be careful who you have around you. This you have to have people around you that you admire, that you look up to, that have accomplished a few things in life, and that if you had a question, if a question was to come to you, you want to go ask the question to someone who has a answer, not someone shoving their shoulders to my own no, because they have never experienced it. And so
I,
I listened to that, and it took me, look, I was 40 some years old because like you, when I was younger, I was a Hellcat. I tell everybody I was a Hellcat. And I think
right,
that Hellcat is still in there, but I know how to tame her right now. Tame. Girl, sit down, and we ain't got time for that. We're not doing any reacting, we're responding to everything. And getting that mindset, like it doesn't take all of that. You're making choices that can really destroy you, and to
right.
consciously be aware that, oh, all I have to do is respond or walk away, not saying that I'm not weak, but I love myself enough not to put myself in places that I know I don't want to be.
Yes, well, we are all easily influenced. We're influenced by our friends, our family, social media, the news. Everything is influencing us constantly. So you want to surround yourself with things that elevate you, elevate your spirit, elevate your soul. Do you know who Tony Robbins is?
No.
No, Tony Robbins. He's like a self-help guru. He was in a movie called Shallow Hal with who was that? Jack Black, I believe. But Tony Robbins, years ago, I won a trip. And I took my wife with me on the trip. And it was with Tony Robbins. And within an hour of meeting him, he had us in bare feet walking across 1,200-degree hot coals, showing us that it's all mind over matter. Everything that in the world is mind over matter. And
Mhm.
he all this advice about how to focus your brain in such a way that you can turn any situation into a positive. And when I
Mhm.
went to it, I listened to all this nonsense that he was saying, and I walked away and I was like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Uh-huh.
Well, 5 years later, I got cancer. Okay. And I was on death's door, and they told me that the cancer I had kills 99% of men that get it. Yet
Mhm.
somehow I survived. Well, afterwards, I started slowly instituting the things that he said. I didn't even realize I was doing it. I just started doing it.
Mhm.
The first thing he said, you have to have a goal for success. I mean, if you don't have a goal for success, you're never going to have success. You have to know what you want first.
You have to have that
That's the
master plan.
first thing, right?
Mhm.
The, the second thing he said was anybody that's in the way of your success, get them out of your life. If they're negative, if they're always having problems, if they're whatever it is, if the person is bringing negativity into your life on a regular basis, remove them from your life. It doesn't matter if it's your mother, your brother, your father, your best friend, child. Unless it's a young child you can't get rid of because you're required by law to take care of them. You know.
You put them in
So
timeout.
yeah. And honestly, those two things, when I started instituting that, I started realizing that my goals started becoming reality. I always wanted to write a book. I started writing books. I always wanted to be in movies and make movies. I'm making movies now. I always wanted to make video games. I make video games now. All of these things came about because I started following this simple process that I thought was stupid as hell when I first heard about it.
Hmm. Well, let me ask you
Yeah.
this because the story, the way I just heard the story, do you think that the universe kind of set you up to meet him knowing that you were going to get this diagnosis? So the universe was giving you the skills that you needed to win?
It might be. It might be. I believe that the universe works in very strange ways, and we often have no idea how to interpret it. You know, is something coincidence or is it the hand of God moving upon the face of the earth? We don't know. It doesn't matter. What matters is what we do with it, you know? And I think I've done something positive with it. I at least hope that the stuff that I'm doing helps somebody and that it helps people for years to come.
That's how I feel about my shows. Like I want to make sure that people get it. Like it's like you just said, it's mind over matter. And you never let what's going on outside of you deter you from the thing that's truly in your mind to do. You know, building that confidence within yourself that I will not stop, I cannot stop. I have something to say, and I know other people have things to say that will help inspire other people, bringing to awareness that it is only us in the way that we think that stops us. We stop ourselves thinking that we're not good enough, we're not smart enough, we don't know how to do this, we don't, without even trying sometimes. And if you never try, how do you know? And I would rather try knowing that I cannot fail compared to not trying at all.
Right.
You know,
And
and some people will try and then won't even continue on the journey because they don't like the way the journey feels.
I have done many things that have failed. I mean, we're here
Me
talking successes, but I've had many failures in my life.
too.
And one of the key things that you have to take away from failure is learning from it. You look at what you did and you learn from your mistake. If you
Mhm,
don't learn from your mistake, you're being a fool. If you walk away and don't try again, you're being a fool.
mhm. Because I've learned through a lot of things that I failed in that they weren't even a match to my DNA, a match to my mind. You know what I'm saying? I
Right.
thought it was a match to who I was. And so, not that I wasn't good at the things that I did, but it was not who I was all at the same time. So it was more like an energetic no, that it's not you, it's not what we're supposed to be doing, that's not giving us that fulfillment. You know, a lot of times we do things just for money or just for clout or whatever the reasons we may do, because that's the ego stuff stepping in. But when you really tap into who you are and you really want to be of service to another person, to get them to see that all things are truly possible, but you first got to believe it.
Yes.
And then once you begin to believe it, you got to begin to go into the land of being. Be it instead of becoming it, just be it. And once you be it, always speak it because it is so. It's not something coming. It is happening right before your eyes and being aware it's really happening. It's happening right now. It's happening. It's been happening within your mind the whole day. This is what is going to take place. And being okay with that, being okay with, well, I may not have the etiquette and I may not have the schooling and I may not have this and I may not have that, but you do have that spirit inside of you that has done all, seen all, experienced all, and to conjure that part of who you are up, it will bring all of
Yeah.
those other things to you. Give me a
One
second. Hmm?
I didn't mean to cut you off. What I was going to say is, if you look at ancient cultures, they believe that the name of God, whatever their God was, just saying the name of it was powerful because they believed the spoken word had the ability to manifest in the
Mhm.
world. So you don't say negative things about yourself. You don't say things like I'm stupid or I'm an idiot or stuff like that, because if you do that, you're making yourself one. You say things positive about yourself. You always elevate yourself.
And this too, you always find a way to be positive about other people because that you put out, you get back. It's
Yes.
you are a reflection of what the creator thought of you. You understand what I'm saying? So the God is in you, the creator is in you, you're made in the image and the likeness of God. So I'm seeing you, and I have nothing negative to say about the creator in you. Because I know if I put negative things out towards you, negative things are gonna come really back to me because that's the boomerang effect. That's how the
Yes.
universe is. Like if you're not operating out of love, you're operating out of a lower energy.
Hmm.
And you want to be at the highest frequency that you possibly can. And the last time I checked was unconditional love, learning how to love what you don't understand, learning how to have compassion and empathy for things that you may not have ever experienced, you know, and being in that place. I'll call it being God to someone else, because you
Okay.
understand that being that has been for you, how that being has been for you in your mess, in our mess. Sometimes we call it our mess. In my mess, I was still blessed in my mess. I was
Yeah.
never forsaken. I was never without. I was never hungry. I was never, I was never, none of that
Right.
negative
Right.
stuff. And so to be that to someone else, we're going to take a quick break and we will be right back. All right, everybody, we are back. I want to thank everybody that is sending in donations, supporting the show. I appreciate you. That's how I keep getting all these great people on here. It's amazing. Between referrals and you guys keeping me up and running, all I can do is say thank you, universe, for loving me. I receive, I receive, I receive, I receive. Okay, Steve, let's talk about comparative. Hold on, let me make sure I'm saying it right. Yeah, comparative religion. This is going to be the last little part of our segment. We're going to know everything you wanted us to know after this.
All right. Well, comparative religion is the study of all religions, not just the Judeo-Christian religions of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. It's looking at every religion in the world and finding the core elements of truth that lies within them all. If you look at ancient culture, well, just look at Judaism as the basis, right? All the books of Judaism, the Torah, or the first five books of the Old Testament, those books were written by Moses roughly 800 BC. Okay. Well, we know that there have been civilizations in the world for 3,500 to 4,000 years prior to that, because we have discovered those cities, we have the writings of those people. And if you go in, you start really looking at the core of their beliefs and the core of their stories, you can see the influence that they had on the stories that made up the early parts of Judaism. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to track down the most ancient writings for each of these beliefs that we have to try to find out what was the truth at that time,
Mhm.
not how did it change over the years. A great example would be our modern concept of good and evil did not exist back.
Mhm.
It just didn't exist. It wasn't until this philosopher came along named Zoroaster, and he came up with the concept of good and evil. He came up with the concept of heaven and hell. These things didn't
Mhm.
exist before him. And you start looking at these ancient cultures because they didn't view the world in black and white. They viewed it in many shades of gray. You know,
Mhm.
you can see the truth of what it means to live comes through a lot clearer because it's not being influenced by the morals of men who have painted themselves as leaders.
Amen. Now I'm gonna say this. I tell people all the time, right and wrong is in your own perception. You can say something is this is just wrong. It's wrong to you. It may not be wrong to the other person because if it was truly wrong to them, they probably wouldn't be doing it. So
Hmm.
in their perception, they're right. But it goes back to say to me, what is truth?
Right.
Not wrong or right. What is truth? And reveal unto me the situation as it is and not as the carnal mind may perceive it.
No, I agree with you because morality, we like to look at the world through the lens of today, through the lens of the life that we live, right? Because that makes us feel good. It makes us feel good to say ABC is right and DEF is wrong.
Mhm.
But what's really fascinating, use in America, a 12-year-old girl getting married would be a horrible crime. Yet in much of the world, that's just the way it is. It's
Mhm.
accepted, it's part of their religion. Many of them are following the same religion that you might be following. It's just a different part of the world, and they have a different set of morals. And that's where ethics becomes the real key because morals fluctuate by society, but ethics never change. Okay.
Same.
People don't understand the difference.
Me and one of my girlfriends, we were speaking maybe last week, and she was like, "Did you see on Facebook where the pastor had women coming up on the pulpit bathing them?" And I was like, "Girl, I don't get into that." And so she said, "Why you don't get in it? You know that's wrong." I said, "First of all, they had free will. That was their choice that they did that." So I look at a person's choice without judging them. I have nothing to do. I have no idea why you made that choice. I may
Yes.
not never make that choice, but it's not for me to judge what you deem to be okay. You
Yep.
know, if it's okay to you, hey, it's okay to me. I don't have anything to say about it. I really don't want to judge it. I don't think
Right.
it's for me to judge. It's for me to observe that is your belief and respect it from just that standpoint. Okay, that's what you believe.
Yeah. For myself, I've always looked at it through the lens of if you harm no one and you harm no one's property,
Mhm.
live your life. I am not here to judge you. The minute you start hurting somebody or hurting their property,
Mhm.
then I will be judgmental.
Yeah. And but then I think the universe becomes kind of judgmental about that because the universe does not is not about hurt, harm, or endangering itself.
Right.
You know, knowing that you are part of the freaking universe and that you're going against every freaking spiritual law is
Mm.
to, set out detrimental harm towards another human being, you're hurting yourself more than you're hurting that person.
Yeah. If you live a life of violence, you probably are going to have a life of violence thrown upon you. You live a life of harmony, harmony will follow you everywhere.
And do you think harmony starts within the person, like the
Yeah.
mindset
Harmony starts in your heart.
in your heart, and it has to work its way up to your head?
Yeah, it does because your head's always going to be trying to stop it.
I talk to people all the time. This young man said to me, he said, we need to be more harmonious. And I said, "You don't think the universe is harmonious as it is?" And he was like, "No, look at everything that's happening." I said, "I guess it depends on how you're viewing the world, because the way I see it, we all breathe the same oxygen. We all shop in the same stores. We're
Hmm.
on the expressways driving together. We're going in and out of buildings together. We're speaking. Some of us grumpy, some of us happy, some of us, we are what we are in our own perspective and lane. But at the same time, we're very harmonious people. When things um, happen that we may not agree to on a human level, we get highly upset when it's okay, hold up, all lives matter. Black lives matter. All of this matters. We have our little points and issues, and we may come out angry. Some of us may come out in pure love, in the essence of love, being more sound-minded in
Yes.
how we do things compared to coming out angry, thinking that anger is going to change anything. Anger changes nothing. It just escalates and gets out of freaking hand.
Hmm. Absolutely. My grandfather used to say, compassion, tolerance, and understanding are the keys to world peace. And I have to agree with that. If you have compassion for another man's trouble, if you have tolerance for his beliefs and actions, and you have understanding for why he does what he does, you can talk to him, you can communicate with him, and possibly change him. And he might be able to change you as well.
And I say this, realizing the part, let's say it's an intimate relationship, okay, and you get into an argument or disagreement, but realizing the part that you played, because
Mhm.
that person's feelings are their feelings for a reason. You can't brush off how they feel. So now you have to look at yourself and say, okay, now what role did I play in their feelings? Because I've got to be open enough to hear what they're saying. But I've got to look at myself and say, well, did I treat them the way I wanted to be treated all the time? Or did I overstep my boundary? Was I too bossy? Was I too this? Was I too that? But being real with yourself instead of pointing the finger saying it's all you and you need to get right
Right.
and you know.
But we often act when we're angry, and that's like the worst time to act. If you
Mhm.
are angry, you should walk away, take some breaths, calm yourself, and when you have a clear mind, have the conversation. You should never have a conversation when you're angry because
Mhm.
anger short circuits the brain. You know,
Mm.
chemicals going off in your head and you can't think clearly.
And can't hear clearly either.
Right, right.
Somebody could be standing in front of you. I love you. I love you. I love you. You don't even hear that
Yeah. And oftentimes, the things we get angry about, when we look back on them later, we don't even remember why we were angry.
because they're not even important.
Right?
Not
Yeah.
even important.
When I was young, I had a very explosive temper. I was the type of guy that I'd get angry and kick a door off the hinges or dent someone's car because I'd be
Mhm.
punched so many times. And it was when I got sick and I was dying, I realized that all of this anger that I've been all this rage that was ruling my life it was a demon. I mean, that's the only way I can really describe it. It was a demon on my back that was agitating me constantly. And when I got sick and thought I was going to die, I just let it all go, and very little makes me angry these days. If you talk to Brent Gaskins at some point, right? Ask him how calm I was on the set. When we were filming Jack Be Nimble, we had so many problems cropping up. And on normal sets, the director is running around screaming and yelling. I never raised my voice. I never lost my temper. I just took a breath and kept on moving.
May I ask, do you know Mo McCoy?
No,
Okay. Because
no.
he was talking about a gentle director last night. I did a show with him, and
Okay.
he was talking about he said when I saw the way he was walking around and he wasn't hollering at everybody, he said,
Mhm.
I want to be just like that. So when you said it, it made me think about what he said.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll come up.
Wow. So I will say, I think that's the best place to be, at peace. I think when you find peace within yourself, you can see it outside of yourself because you become peace, and everything around you becomes like that woosah state that, okay, I see it, but I'm not gonna let it bother me.
Yeah. But it's also learning to accept yourself. We all have flaws. We all are going to do things that hurt other people. We're all going to do things that hurt ourselves. I
Mhm.
mean, it's normal. It's not letting guilt weigh you down because of these things, or self-depreciation weigh you down, because these things, are just human nature. We are all capable of greatness, every single one of us, big and small. It doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter how smart you are or how dumb you are
Mhm.
capable of greatness. It's a matter of believing in yourself is the first step, and figuring out what you want is the second.
Wow. Okay. Thank you so much, Steve.
Thank you.
I know you have blessed my soul. You have given me some insight on a lot of things throughout this interview. And I think I'm thinking about, you said Tony, what was his name? I think I've seen him. I think I've seen him
Yeah, he's
on
like the
the
man.
tall guy
Yeah, real tall. He has gigantic
with
hands.
hands.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. Because I always thought he used to play some kind of, I said, well, he must be some kind of athlete or something.
yeah. He's been an advisor for most of the CEOs for Fortune 500 companies.
Okay, I know he's done, what is it? Brain. I think I went to one of the little brain things that they did.
Okay, I
Yeah.
can see that with
Rewire your brain,
him. Mhm.
something I can't remember. But I know exactly who you're talking about. I had to keep thinking, had to keep going through my registry because I believe in renewing your mind.
That experience with him of walking on the hot coals, that was life changing for me, because I watched them. They came out the laser and showed you how hot the temperature was on the coals. And then he walked across them, then he walked back to us. And then he took my wife's hand and he walked her across them and walked her back to me. And then he took my hand and walked me across and walked me back. And it was life changing, because these coals, they were so hot. It was 1,200 degrees is what the laser said, and
Mhm.
I didn't have a single burn on my feet.
Wow, I look at Facebook and you see the ladies cooking with the grease and putting their hand in the grease and it don't even bother them.
Yeah.
And I was saying, what is their belief that would allow them to do that?
Well, what he said is the first part of it is you have to get yourself into a heightened, agitated state. Okay. The second part is when you are in that state, you have to convince yourself that you'll be fine. Okay.
Mm,
Because if you believe you're going to burn, you're going to burn.
the bird. Okay, so just
Okay.
believe opposite. Mm,
Yeah, you have to convince yourself, even if it's just vocally saying it over and over again. This is cold. This is cold. This is cold, and just walking across. Okay, it's and a lot of people say, like, to walk on hot coals, you have to walk in a certain way and move your feet up and down. No, I walked calmly and slowly across, and it was
mm.
about 50 yards. Yeah,
I don't know. I would try that experience. I would do it.
yeah,
University, hear me? I would try it. I would try it.
yeah.
I'll be mentally preparing myself right now. Oh, I can do all things. I can do all things. I can do all things.
Well, I was a paramedic for a number of years, and I saw a little old lady. She was 92 years old and had osteoporosis. I watched her flip a Volkswagen Bug on its side. She might have weighed 90 pounds, maybe,
What?
but it was a car accident, and there was a kid underneath of it. It wasn't even her kid. And she walked over and picked that car up and flipped it on its side. Now, she did break her back and both her legs doing it,
Yeah,
but she
she
did.
did it. Yeah.
you know that's how powerful the mind can be. We are capable of so much, just most
Hmm.
people don't realize it. What was it Jesus said? If you have faith, you can move mountains.
Mountains. Yeah.
Right. that
Wow.
there's truth in those words. If you believe it enough, doesn't matter what it is you believe, if you believe it enough, you can make it happen.
Now I do agree with that. I do agree with that because there's a lot of things in life I say to myself, All things are possible. All things are possible. And I believe in speaking my day into existence too.
Yes.
Like this will be a very harmonious, happy, joyous day. I will laugh within this day. I will play within this day. And just saying that when I first wake up in the morning, I'm grateful for everything that I have, and everything that I have right now is everything that I need. And that's including my friends, my family, everything that's connected to me is in harmony today because I choose to be harmony today. And I do that daily.
Right. I'm working on a TV show, and I can't give you the name of it because we haven't sold it yet.
Okay.
But the show is it's a competition game show, and every day I'm getting up, I'm selling the show, I'm selling the show, I'm selling the show, you
Mhm.
know. And I've been working on it for about 6 months now, and we're in the final stages, and it looks like I'm about to sell the show. And
Yay.
I mean, you have that positive belief. You just keep pushing it. You
Mhm.
make it occur. Manifest your own destiny.
I believe in creating your own destiny, creating it from that first initial thought.
Right.
And I will tell you this, I've learned this in life too. You can have that first initial thought sometimes, and every time doubt slips in, it's like you start all over again.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like release the doubt, release the fear, proceed in whatever your thought is without doubting it, period. Never doubt it.
And don't listen to the naysayers.
Mhm.
You know, all the people around you will naysay you. There are so many that will do that. Just use my own family as an example. I don't think a single person in my family believed I could ever write a book and publish it. And they were still doubting me after I've done 5. When I got into
Okay.
movies, it was the same thing. They're just like, oh God, here he goes again, you know.
Mhm.
And now they're one by one. I've been making good movies that are being seen all over the world, and my family's eating crow. You know, that's what happens. It's you can't listen to the naysayers. You got to believe in yourself. You got to believe in yourself more than any person around you.
Mhm. I agree with that. I agree with that. That you cannot listen to it. And my whole thing is, I can't listen to you and you ain't did nothing. I'm so sorry. I just can't listen to you and you're not even trying or attempting to do anything. I cannot, I cannot even receive that.
Right.
But now if you were doing something and you were critiquing me or whatever, I probably could kind of receive what you're saying. But if you're not doing anything at all, I don't receive you. And you can be dismissed from my atmosphere. Because
Yeah.
I'm the queen of my own atmosphere. I know how to set boundaries and kick your behind out of my life. I
Yeah.
kick you up out of here because I don't want to be a part of it. I do appreciate you. I thank God for creating you, the universe for bringing you and animating you to help humanity in so many versatile ways, from your criminal justice to your comparative religion to your movies to your games to all of the ways that you are interacting with us. I thank you.
Thank you for having me here today.
All right. You guys, hope you enjoyed this show. It's going to be on replay. I know everybody couldn't see it right now, but we will be back tomorrow, 7:30. Thank you, Steve.
Yep. Thank you.